From the Homestead Studios in Santa Clarita, California, it's just the Tip-Sters with Melissa Morgan.
Buenas noches.
This week with special guest, podcast aficionado and true crime maven, Tanya Todd. Remember, if you've got a tip for Melissa, you need to tell her about it by calling the Tipster hotline at 832-TIPSTER. That's 832-847-7837. Or send an email to jttipsters@gmail.com. You just might hear your tip on the podcast. And now here's your host, looking for love in all the wrong places, because that's where all the serial killers record their hookup videos, Melissa Morgan.
Oh, more cowbell. So beside the dancing that Tanya's doing in her chair, I have found a little bit about her personality. I gave her one of those cute little unicorn squeezy stress balls to hold, and she promptly grabbed it by the tail and twisted it around on its horn.
Oh, that's how we know she's our kind of girl.
She's our kind of awful, terrible person.
You're too kind.
Who hurts a little unicorn stress ball.
Yes.
So I was going to say I met Tanya on a wonderful website called fistfuckers.com, but that's not true.
Here.
That's where you tell everybody we met.
I know. So I can't use the same thing for Tanya. I can't meet everyone there. So I was going to say that she is one of the first people who emailed me after I started this podcast and made such a difference in my outlook, because I was having a particularly crappy day, doubting myself on every level. And in like 2 to 3 sentences, she summed up how much she got me and how I knew, all right, if there's this woman who is intelligent and is kind enough to email me, she has to be speaking for others. So at least there's 2 or 3 people who understand that I'm not a terrible person.
Or not for that, anyway.
Right, just for that. For other things, absolutely. And we started talking, and I was like, she's so smart, and she's so funny, and she has an almost encyclopedic, I'm going to say that wrong too, it's very mischievous of me.
Encyclopedic?
I think it's encyclopedic.
Wikipedic. She has a really good memory for like all sorts of amazing details as far as true crimes, people who do bad things, what happens to them if they get caught, the verdicts. I mean, she's kind of in a walking murderpedia. That's what I call her behind her back.
I'm a creep.
No, you're not even close to being a creep, not at all. So every time I think of Tanya, I think of the beginning of Law and Order, SVU, in the criminal justice system. Sexually based offenses are considered especially heinous. In New York City, the dedicated detectives who investigate these vicious felonies are members of an elite squad known as the Special Victims Unit. And these are their stories. Dink, dink. Every time I hear that, I think of her because she's doing something I thought was so fantastic. She started University for Criminology. Is that actually the title of
it
the?
Actually
okay,
is, yeah.
Awesome.
It's an honors degree.
It is fantastic and wonderful, and I've actually had the pleasure of reading some of the work she's done for class. But I guess we should go backward a little bit. So, how did you become the walking murderpedia, my darling?
Well, when I was a kid, there was I'm the youngest of 4, and my siblings, there's a big gap, so everybody's all older. I grew up with a bunch of adults, and I came across a book. I think it was one of those Time Life encyclopedia picture books that, you get one and they try to lure you into
to buy all.
Getting more. And the first one, it's called actually Crimes and Punishment. And I might have shown it to you in September when we met in Cincinnati. And I started reading it, which is completely inappropriate for a 5-year-old. It was actually, it was published in like 1973, I think. And so I started reading it, and nobody seemed to notice that I was reading it. And I just found it very interesting. I'm not really into gore or horror or anything like that, but just more that's an interesting way of resolving a problem. Why would you choose to do a killing or something gross and awful and think that made sense? And then I somehow found other books like that in the house or then at the library, which is, if I could live in a library without being a weird library person, then that would be... I mean, we all know librarians are weird. Like, a little bit not sometimes, like true crime murder people are.
No, they're not
weird.
No.
And then just for a long time, I was reading There's a Max Haynes was a Toronto Sun reporter, and he's written. Well, he would do the true crime beat, and then he wrote a bunch of books. And I remember reading. I might have been like 12 or something, reading about the Sylvia Likens case, and I've been carrying that in my heart, and just feeling really sad about it for years because I could never get that name out of my head, and what happened to her, what they did, just always felt so over the top and unnecessary. I mean, all of the murders and horrible things are unnecessary, but that one especially felt so egregious. And I just always had that in my head. And then there came a point when I was like in my maybe like 19 or 20, I had to stop reading true crime. I had to just take a break because it was getting to be too much. It wasn't that I was paranoid. I've never really felt like, oh, anything's going to happen to me. It was never that. More, it was just like, oh, I can't carry all of this.
Right.
And so just took a little bit of a break, and then over the years just kind of came back to it. And then in the last few years, just once the podcasts all started coming out, I just started listening to, I didn't listen to Serial, so don't ask me or quiz me because I know nothing about it.
I promise.
And there's a few of the really hot, popular ones that I actually never got into for not any real reason.
Right.
And then I just started thinking one day, like, oh, there was a podcast I was listening to, I can't remember, and the girl was saying something like, oh, I've got 2 degrees, and it might have even been Heather's at Nature versus Narcissism. Right. And I was like, oh, you clever thing. I wonder if I could do that. And because I never had a chance to go to school 30 years ago, and I just, I applied and ended up being able to. I was very lucky where I am in my life now that I have the time, the money, and a really good support network.
The support, yeah.
To be able to do it. So I just started in September, and I started with just 2 classes this semester to ease into it and see how I would like it. And I loved it so much. I loved hanging out with all the little 10-year-olds. Okay, they might be 18 or 19, but they're 10-year-olds as far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just going into the class and sitting and listening and doing my homework, and really enjoying it.
You are kind of a walking sponge also. You hold on to details that others, tend to not keep a hold of. And that's a real gift.
Thank you.
It is a gift.
Yeah.
So I feel a little ignorant, but I don't know who Sylvia Likens is. And if you don't want to talk about it, you don't have to.
No, we can. And I mean, just really briefly, I in fact, I can't even remember now what state. It might have been Ohio or Indiana or something, where basically her parents were like, I don't know, traveling carnival workers or seasonal workers, and couldn't really care for all the kids. So they said, oh, hey, neighbor lady, I see you have, 17 kids and can't do anything. Why don't you take 2 of my kids too? And we'll pay you a nickel a day or whatever. Wow. This is like 1966 or 67 or something.
Wow. Okay.
60s. And so they took in, so it was this woman who had maybe like 3 or 4 kids, and she was clearly not a well person. And when you see the pictures of her, she just looks like a wraith. Like, she's just disgusting to look at, and you can just feel the grossness coming off of her. And so she took in Sylvia and her sister, and already in the household, I don't think there was any kind of father figure, but there was maybe 3 or 4 kids of varying ages. And the long and the short of it is that they used her as a receptacle for various things, and would assault her and hire, get local neighborhood people to come and just beat on her, or just assault her in different ways. Ugh, so awful. And in the end, her body gave out.
Right.
And she, I believe, I can't remember now, she was 12 or 16.
Oh my gosh.
I can't even remember, because sometimes that part is just so
too
awful.
Hard to
but
imagine.
They, carved into her stomach, and it's like, oh, my hand is tired. I can't keep carving into her. Oh, I'll do it. And so it's like, the kids who were like 13 or 17 also helping out. It's unbelievable. The kind of thing that all these people think it's okay. Nobody says, they're scared to say something at school,
right.
Oh, my mom's doing this to this random neighbor kid that's living in our basement on a gross mattress, and what do we do? Anyways, it's just a very horrible case, as they all are, but that one especially just felt, especially she, you just imagine this poor girl just kind of lying there deflated with I can't even focus on being alive. So that's just a horrible case. If you want to get more details.
That one would stick with me too. I mean,
especially because I was little when I first
right.
wrote about it.
Probably relatable in some ways. Yeah, I mean, it is fascinating, the cases that make an imprint.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I know what you're saying, that all of them are terrible and tragic, and there is no reason to end anyone's life unless you're trying to defend your own. But some of them are so much more awful or for some reason relatable or stick with us. I was unfamiliar with that. I will have to look that one up.
That whole idea of killing for fun or sport is the thing that I don't understand, because there's a lot of other hobbies that you could.
Well, especially in a group like that.
Well,
how do you get that group
Well,
think?
and that's a common thing. Like, they call it the folie à deux when it's the two people doing whatever. So I guess you have this group folie, but it's just like, ugh, get lost. Find something else to do. It's
You said, like your kids are going to school and they're too afraid to say what's happening at home. So you wonder if it's Stockholm syndrome or if I say something, I'll be punished. I'll become her.
I think that's exactly it. That a lot of the abuse that these kids were getting was now being shifted to this new girl.
Oh gosh! So they got a break, and yet they had to do this horrible thing. There's no winning.
No.
There's no good that's going to come out of that, except maybe having people trained to find them and arrest them and prosecute them, which leads us back to your wonderful degree. I'm so proud of you for doing this. So do you have an idea, and you don't have to tell us if you don't want to, of what you want to maybe focus on when you get out of school?
No, I don't know yet, because the degree is actually 3 years, but because I've just started part-time with only 2. The first year, I'm just doing 2 classes per semester.
Which is a good
Just as
plan, so you don't push yourself. Yeah.
Because I also want to make sure I do it really well.
Right, of course. Just the Tip-Sters.
Indeed. Yeah. So I don't know where it's going to lead, and I'm just very open to whatever the universe, I guess, provides. In my previous life, I worked corporate. I was an executive assistant for 25 years in different companies. I love computers. I love research. I love a lot of different things. So we'll see.
It is like a natural progression then almost, isn't it?
Yeah. So we'll see where it ends up. And I'm lucky also where I live that I have access to a lot of different cities. I'm just an hour west of Toronto, and there's a lot of population and a lot of different industries or whatever that I could find something to do.
Yeah. So, I mean, when I started looking into what a criminology degree can focus on. It's not just
much.
People who take fingerprint or blood analysis, but forensic psychologists, and you could be, in the court system, you could be a professional witness, which I have to say, jury pools, I love Canada for that. Even if it's just that, there's a lot of things that I think Canada brings, but a jury pool, God damn it. How fucking smart. Someone who knows the law, because the law can be really difficult to, traverse on your own if you're not a legal expert. And the couple of times I've been called in for jury duty, one of them was so frightening to me because we're sitting in downtown Los Angeles in a big Superior Court, conference room waiting to see who's going to get weeded out. And they made the announcements in English and in Spanish. How is that a jury of anyone's peers unless the person is a Spanish-speaking only person? You can't. You can't do that. I just think that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I love it would never dawn on me professional paid jury pools. I think that's just a brilliant thing.
I don't know anything about this.
You don't have to. No, it comes from Canada.
Wait a minute, I got to make a note of something else to study.
It's really fascinating. But that's one of the things your degree could be helpful in. And it's so looking, even just, I'm like a etymology freak and a half, love words. So criminology, crimin to accuse, and logia to study. So you're studying the accused. It's so, God, I love that. It's
I always say I'm studying to become a better criminal, but okay.
Yeah. See, it could work out that way. It could, you can learn all the shit to do to not get caught.
Right now, in the second half of my life, I'm going to.
She said it here. Is the recording on, honey? 'Cause
I'm heading out the door right now.
I think that's
you can
wise.
run, but you can't hide, Mark. You guys invited me here, so.
So I'm sure as your classes go on, you're going to be pointed in a direction of something you like or some things you like. It doesn't have to be one thing. But is there anything that's kind of maybe like whack-a-mole, like showing its head that you're a little bit more interested in than anything else?
I'm not sure. Right now, because I only did an intro to criminology and intro to criminal justice, and both those classes they had a bit of overlap, but they were both very interesting. And I was very keen to the criminology class until my teacher, who was really a neat guy, started throwing like Marxist theory at us, and I was like, oh, kill me now.
What does that have to do with
Yeah.
criminology?
Tell me.
If I remember, it's just something to do about like how societies create different criminals
Ooh.
and things like that. But it's also, it just feels so nebulous and
Heavy-handed.
awful.
Uh-huh.
And I just can't get into that kind of, I don't know, it just feels like a bunch of people sitting around saying, let's put these
Theorize
words,
bullshit.
yeah, which
That's
I can't.
fascinating.
And so then we did, there's all the different social theories.
Right.
And then, I don't know. So it was very interesting. I thought that I would like that part more in the psychology of it, which I still have other classes, obviously, to take.
Right.
But then I was like, oh, if it's all this, like, trying to memorize, who stands for what, that kind of stuff. Oh. I want something a bit more black and white, not quite so gray,
in the
which
crowd,
nothing in life
yeah,
is black
in
and
the
white. I get it,
crowds,
but
right. No, I gotcha.
But-
I'm a very black and white person, and life is very gray. But I will tell you, sort of adjacent to what you're talking about. I loved starting college. Was so happy to start college, and of course, because I majored in radio, TV, film, which is like majoring in recess. And I loved it so much. I loved it so much. But we had to take other classes, right? And I took many, many philosophy classes, and I this is my hand to God. One spring break while my friends were all going to Florida and I'm in Kentucky, I laid on the floor in our family room and cried and said, I'm not college material.
Oh, Peanut.
Because the philosophy fucked with my head. Like something, like I thought, I'm never going to get this. Life is too esoteric. I'm not even sure I deserve to live.
All philosophy classes need to fuck off and die. And that's what I'm doing next semester. So starting in 1 week today, I have 2 classes. These are those foundation courses where like, you have to take this.
Yes.
And I'm just going to be like, fuck. And so when I was telling my husband, I'm like, hey, John, here are my classes. He's like, oh, this is so great. I love those classes because I'm going to the same school he went to 30 years ago.
Screw
and he
him.
loves the philosophy and he loves
it.
to
I
talk.
hated
And I'm
it.
just like, no, John, no more talking.
You know,
So-
this really isn't happening right now.
What do you mean?
We are only star stuff. This is all in.
This
is
fuck
This is
you.
all in the imagination of a grain of sand on
Get
a beach.
bent.
You're right. Fuck you, German fucker, or wherever you
So
star
when I
stuff.
saw the book I have to get, and I said to John, here's the book they want me to read. And he's like, this one? Because, of course, he had it already.
Of course he did.
And it's the life and death of Socrates.
Oh, no.
Stab.
No. She's stabbing herself with one of my unicorn animals right now.
And and it's going to be reading and essay writing and all this
All the
horrible
stuff
things.
you can't wait to do.
So I am determined I'm going to enjoy it. If it kills me, I am going to love it.
No irony in that statement.
God.
I'm going to enjoy it if it kills me.
Indeed.
I love that so much.
So
Okay, so I feel like I was very honored to get to read one of your papers.
Thank you.
And this professor sounds like maybe influenced the zeitgeist of your paper, how like social injustice. Is that the Grand Rat
Yes.
Master Flash,
Yeah.
the message.
Well, because this teacher, he's younger than me. And he would come into class in like shorts and Crocs and just be like super casual.
That's when I'd check out.
Oh my God. And
No Crocs,
He's
no.
just like a little beardo. He was really nice. But he was like every kind of pop culture reference, and all these kids are slack-jawed, not understanding. And I'm like, dude, of course I know all of this stuff. And so the example paper he gave us was with Bruce Springsteen, which, Bruce Springsteen seems like such a nice guy, but that's not my department.
Right.
I don't know
I
that music
gotcha.
at all or
Yeah.
anything. But yeah, he's always referencing very,
Interesting.
things that are du jour, all the stuff that's current. So it was kind of funny that, he's referencing all these things to these kids and they're like, well, we don't know anything. Because they're teeny
Babies.
weenies. They're 18 years
Yeah.
old. Oh my God. They're very sweet.
And it's hard to find a lot of social injustice in a Justin Bieber song or something.
Yeah. And I'm curious to know what other songs those kids all selected.
It would be.
Yeah.
Does anyone like share papers? Do you guys like read each other's shit?
No, I mean, maybe some of them do because they had their little groups of friends, but I was just like the weird mom in the corner, like handing out snacks. Oh, you're hungry? Look so skinny. Here, have a sandwich.
You're the soccer mom.
Yeah, I'm so dumb.
So what made you pick, rap, which is kind of the most perfect?
Oh, well, part of it was the topic that he gave us. So it was a social disorganization theory. And it's like, once I was reading the chapter and what it was involving, and it just, it might have been actually that day that we were online on Facebook with Kristen and talking about some songs, like what song would you put on that you would just start singing. And I think that that came up in the conversation. I don't know if it was you that put it up or I'd put it up. And then I just started thinking about that. Oh my God, this is going to work so perfectly for my paper.
It really is. I mean, it really is such a great parallel. And, I know producer Mark, who is a singer-songwriter and has worked in lots of genres like rock and folk. But when he met me, and I'm, like the biggest weirdo in his life, and I'm listening to old school rap.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, this is like the modern version of folk music.
Oh, right.
Oh, it is. Hip hop is folk music.
I love that.
That's
great.
Yeah, because like it was protesty.
Yes.
And you're
the thing about it is that they don't have any pride of authorship.
Right.
The folks involved in hip hop borrow from each other all the time.
Right.
They appear on each other's records. They don't really care about who gets credit.
Right.
They sample from other stuff. It's that's what folk music is.
Yeah.
It's really neat.
And it is kind of, this generation, or, a generation in front of us or behind us, their way of discussing what's going on, this is what's going on in the streets, man. But it actually is.
It really is, yeah.
And to me, I find rap music poetic.
Oh, for sure.
I think it's poetry. I mean, I'm not sure Mark would agree with me because he's got very different opinions of poetry is one thing, music is another.
Oh, okay.
I find many songs poetry.
Yes.
I've read at poetry readings. I've read pop songs.
Oh, sure.
Just the lyrics as a poem. And he, Mark was like, "That you're, blasphemy, blasphemy." Right, producer Mark?
I'm staying out of this one.
I feel like that's a good place.
Otherwise, I'll start putting on a course on the difference between music.
Here we go.
Music, poetry, and songs, which are all three different things.
Oh my God!
And that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, that's what I want you to put on a clinic right now, so Tanya and I understand the difference between music, poetry, and
we
song.
can reconvene, and maybe you can do like a 3-week course or something, and then we can.
I'm going to give them a day and a half.
Yeah,
like a day and a half workshop or clinic.
Yes,
yeah.
A weekend.
What do you think?
Like
Get a weekend clinic.
Just the Tip-Sters continues.
What the fuck was that? Is that a commercial?
I'm just trying to remind everybody that we're trying.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Not talking about me here.
I was like, what? Is that a weird commercial you just inserted? I'm not sure what's happening.
Yes.
I kind of like it.
I like the advertisement for my course on music, but now just the Tip-Sters continues.
I see. That was your way of a really bad left turn. Well, so it does, feed into what we're discussing, sir.
Yes, and that's operators are standing by if you'd like to call right now. There's
and
just
donate.
A few spots left for that weekend course.
We don't have the weekend picked out yet.
That's okay. Snacks are already provided.
From our soccer mom, who's in criminology school. And we'll take the bag that you eat your snacks out of and then have it fingerprinted to see if you've done anything bad.
Which you have, I'm sure.
Shut up. So there's really nothing that's like sticking out right now. Like, I really want to focus on X.
Oh, yeah. No, right now I'm just trying to get my head wrapped around my next two classes. Of horribleness.
Yeah.
But that I'm going to love. I'm a mostly optimistic, happy kind of person. So I'm determined to really love these classes.
Just because it's kind of sounds heady and
out of my comfort zone too. So that's why I want to try to force myself to have a different perspective on it. I'm like, oh, this is good. This is going to be good for me.
See, that's a beautiful way. And I went into college with I only want to focus on radio, TV, film. Okay, this other shit I have to take it. But I don't want to do it. But then literally the philosophy part made me doubt everything I was and am. But you have enough of a really good, strong foundation that it's not going to rock you to your core and make you wonder,
well,
you're going to be like,
true.
I don't like this class.
Yeah, but also I am the age I am, which makes a difference.
A little difference.
Lived a little bit and know that everything works out in the end. And
it's not going to kill you, right?
Yeah, it's fine.
This philosophy class is not going to end me.
No, it'll be fine. And the other thing, too, is that I do have a young son. He's 11, and I did bring him with me, to the bookstore. And I said, well, this is where I'm going to do my classes, and here's what I'm going to do. And I wanted to show him that, too. So
that's very nice.
That was very important.
So he understands what's going on. That's beautiful. Like what mom's doing.
Yeah.
This is what mom's
and this is why I'm a bit
time.
quiet tonight and what I'm focusing on. And in fact, there was I was studying one night and I said, come sit on the couch with me and just give me some good luck. So you read your book. And he did. Sat beside me and I read my stuff. And
That's nice. You study together.
Yeah.
That's a lovely bonding experience.
Yeah. And then because I've already told him, like, he doesn't have to go to college or university. He has to do something. And I just said to him, like, I don't want you to be scared of university. I don't want you to be nervous for anything after high school. So you know what it is. Obviously, tons of people do it. And so if you do go to university, you'll already know what to expect. It's a game, and you just play it by the rules. So
that's a really great way of describing it. That's like simple and yet true. I really like that. Nobody told me. It was like my mom was applying for colleges for me when I was in the 9th grade.
Yeah.
It was like, you're going. And I'm like, and I said to her one time, what if I want to work at a gas station?
Yeah.
She goes, you're not going to work at a gas station.
That's fine, but you can own the gas station.
Yeah, she was like, no, you're not going to work at a gas station.
Own a chain
I went to
of them.
school. I cried almost every spring break. So that's a beautiful thing. And I graduated, and I give my mom such kudos. It took me 4.5 years, but I got the fuck out with a bachelor's degree. And it's something I finished.
Yes.
They can't take it away from me.
Nope.
I earned that degree, and
you own it, and it's all in you.
Yep.
That's really wonderful.
But I love your parenting style and saying to Alexander, you don't have to go to school, but if you want to, here's, what to expect. That's so great.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing.
Well, part of it is because when I say to him, can you just empty the dishwasher for me? Oh my God, I have to do everything here. I'm like, yeah. If you don't want to empty the dishwasher, when you're big and you have your own house, you can hire anybody to do whatever the fuck you want. But to do that, in the meantime, empty the fucking dishwasher, go make me a coffee, and now go to school. So
That's exactly what my parents used
right?
to do.
And see how good he turned out?
And you know what? And you know what? Melissa will tell you, they said, you know what? If you don't want to go pick up the rocks in the backyard, just wait till you grow up, and then you can hire somebody else to do it. And I do.
Exactly. And, I like to hire people for different things. Some things I do myself, like I color my own hair at home. But I will hire, people to do different things.
Yeah, and Mark likes to, can't we just call Dan to fix it? And I'm like, stop throwing money at people to fix it. I want to fix it myself, and I can't. And
they are professionals. They are trained.
There's
in
part
this.
of that.
And it's also, they have a job to do. You're providing.
We're stimulating the economy, if you want to call it that.
Precisely.
Whatever. Oh, shut up. Who cares? You just want someone else to do it. And I want to do it myself, and I can't. I fuck it up.
I just want somebody to do it the right way without messing stuff up and breaking things.
Or breaking your own finger or something.
Who fixed the refrigerator?
You did a great job at that this morning.
That was amazing.
Okay. That was just because I had a migraine lightning bolt. It's like, hey, what if I did...
And it was at 4:20 a.m. you said, which is kind of funny because
I wasn't stoned or anything. It was probably in honor of Hitler's birthday.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I always have to find another connection. It was not because I was stoned.
So dumb.
So I am not dumb.
Not you. Hitler
is
dumb.
You were saying me. I could tell.
Yeah. Well,
have you ever thought about being in law enforcement?
Maybe. Yeah. We actually in our town we have an OPP detachment, which is our Ontario Provincial Police.
Oh, thank God! I thought it was other people's penises.
That too. I mean, I don't know what they do there. Like
down with
OPP.
So wait, what's it called? The other
Ontario Provincial Police. It's like
I'm down with Ontario
State, whatever.
Provincial Police. Yeah, you know me. It doesn't rhyme.
No, it's terrible.
It's terrible. Yeah,
it would be like the Highway Patrol here.
Oh, thank you. You're not Canadian. You shut up in there. Sunshine, you pipe down.
I gave him some notes.
Permission?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, then. If Tanya says you can say it. So I always thought there was only just the RCMP.
Right, and that's primarily in the western provinces.
Okay, so you have the OPP.
Yeah, and then I think there's a detachment of the RCMP out on Newfoundland, or they call it the St. John's. Somebody's going to correct me and tell me I'm stupid. I can't remember what it is. But so for example, Toronto has their own police, and then the provincial, they cover everything else, like roads and other smaller towns. And I guess they get contracted or something, and I don't know. So
like the sheriff's department here is
it's very similar.
Yeah. So if let's just say you're at your house and someone is causing a disturbance down the street, do you say we're calling the OPP?
Yes, just because they're the closest to us. That's what's, we're not we're just in a small town, and like when you live in Toronto, you would just call you dial 911 and it goes to whatever is closest.
Okay, so you have a 911 system also.
Yes, it's all the same.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, there's so many things that are alike in our Northern America.
We're just like weird cousins, or you guys are the weird cousins. And
no, you.
And there's a lot of overlap. And, like we've been saying this whole time, like how most of us live within 100 kilometers of the U.S. border, and so we have all the same access to, all the TV and pop culture and all of that. But then we have some things that are a little bit different.
Different,
and the usual regional things of how we sound differently across all of Canada, just as in the U.S. it's the same. But for the most part, we really are more similar than not. And I don't do politics, so that doesn't matter. So that makes
Beautiful.
it easy. Mm-hmm.
And you have you and your husband John both have a beautiful lack of what would be, in my mind, a Canadian accent, which would make you, hopefully one day you're going to be on the other side of the microphone and interviewing people, because I just think you're a perfect podcast host. But so one of the things we discussed during your time here is the death penalty, or the lack of it in Canada. So I was totally misinformed and thought there had never been a death penalty. So it was until John was saying, was it like the late 60s, early 70s?
67 or something,
okay.
Yeah.
So do you, well, you're too young to remember, I would say,
I wasn't born.
Right. You were not born
I'm old,
yet.
but I wasn't born then.
No.
So.
But do you remember like any elders, parents discussing any cases?
No, not really, because my parents were also immigrants from Spain.
Right.
And my parents were also quite left-leaning, let's say, so there would never have been a support for it.
Right.
But no, mostly the history I learned was the history of Spain after the Spanish Civil War and all that kind of horrible, gruesome stuff, which we can save for another episode. So yeah, really everybody in my family was quite
against it.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I wondered if any of the elders had said, that was a terrible thing and they shouldn't have done it, or yes, that guy deserved it, or something like that.
Right.
Nothing
Yeah,
like
no,
that.
nothing like that.
So I'm going to guess then that you would still be against it today.
I think so, yes. There's, obviously a select few that could probably enjoy.
Turn your opinion, maybe?
Yeah, there's obviously like Bernardo, and there's that gross Magnata, who are just, they're waste of space. And also their victims are known victims. There's not some kind of nebulous, well, maybe they did it.
Maybe
No,
he did it,
we know.
yeah.
We've got videotapes of some.
Oh, wow.
And when there's that kind of really irrefutable proof, it might be okay. But when I know there's so many people that are waiting to die that are in, I don't want to say, they're just probably not the ones that did it.
Maybe.
And you have these innocence projects that are working so hard to help some people that, when you've got DNA proof that says they didn't do it, and then you have some people saying, I don't care what the DNA says, I still want him to die.
That's scary.
That's and that's happened in Canada also with some wrongful convictions where that with all the proof, there was DNA, there was like tons of proof, and there were some police who said, I don't care, I don't like him. And that was what I will find that for you. I think it was Guy Paul Morin was accused of killing a young girl. He did not do it. He always said he didn't do it. And then the cop, even by the end, when he was exonerated after 20 years or something, he's like, I don't care. I don't like him, and I think he's still good for it. It's like, okay, but
so that's his ego.
Yeah, and it's like sometimes you can't argue science. Like I love ideas and feelings, that's fine, but science is still pretty good.
Yeah, that should be what we use. That's for sure. And I have to say, it's people like you and like producer Mark who have turned me around, because I get so upset and angry and relate to the family members of the victims and be like, that person should die in a terrible way. And knowing how many people are probably not guilty.
Yeah. I'm curious too, and I'm just thinking about this right now as you're saying that. I'm curious when a person is killed by the state or whatever, when the victims' families, what they feel as far as, do they get I'm not going to say closure because that's not, do they feel like, okay, now that's over, or now?
Yes.
Or do they just still feel like,
I'm going to say 90% say it really didn't give me anything that I wanted.
Precisely.
And that's heartbreaking for everybody involved, because
Yes.
it's like they've spent how many years, I'm going to say a minimum of 20 years while it works through the
going
system.
through the system.
And that's been their focus, and that's got to be a very, just very heartbreaking.
I feel like what were you going to say, producer Mark?
Nothing. I agree with you.
You were just agreeing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like the people that want it to deliver something to them, and then it's almost more heartbreaking when they realize it didn't.
Yeah.
Because there are, fathers whose daughters have been, slaughtered, and they're like, that guy needs to die, and I need to be there and stand there and watch him take his last breath, and it's just not what you thought it would be.
Yeah.
It doesn't provide you. You're right. I'm now a fervent protester of the word closure.
Yes. Oh,
There's
yeah, because
no
it's
such
a
thing.
dumb word. It's like depression. It doesn't actually mean what it should mean.
Yes. We've tried to make it mean something, and it has been such a great catch-all for so many years, but there's no such thing as closure.
It's false. And it puts pressure on people to
wrap something up.
Get over it. Just deal with it.
Yeah.
What's interesting too is, and I've never had anything quite so horrible happen to me, so I don't know how I would react in that situation. But then I wonder, watching, like, so if a person that, your close person has died, how you honor them, and you might find a different way to honor them that would give more meaning or more hope or some kind of
remembrance
future
of their
something.
life.
Yeah. Instead of focusing so much on this gross piece of garbagey thing that doesn't matter. And now like his part of the story in your life is done. He's killed your person. Now he doesn't have to be part of it anymore.
Right.
And what could you do to heal yourself or find a way to somehow recuperate to go forward? I don't know, but
that's interesting, because the way you're describing it, it's almost like the more attention you give to the person
you're
who's
just
done
feeding
this,
that horrible beast so you're using up
making
your
a
life.
tie to them.
Yeah, you're using up your
bond.
life for 20 years or whatever with this garbage person instead of trying to find a way. And I'm not saying this is a blame. That's not my point. Just more like, how would you, what's a way to look at it to, I'm always trying to, that's something that my husband has really helped me so much. And, when he'll poke at you and say, well, why do you think that? It's like, just because I do. Yeah, no, but why? Like, I don't know. And then you go through the little cycle of questioning why, so that then you're like, maybe I can look at this from a different point of view. So I love you so much, John. You're so good.
It's good to have a different perspective and make you, like I said, you and Mark, before I met you, really kind of made me take a second look, because the first episode we did of this podcast in January of last year now.
Already.
Yeah, was Gene Simmons, who, a family annihilator, but also coworker annihilator and lots of other things. And 16 people total. Thought he'd killed 20, but 4 of them survived. So I was like, in the way, the different ways of killing different family members of different ages, but several of them drown in a rain barrel. Yeah. Head first in a rain barrel, drown them. They came up, they survived, they came back to consciousness. He did it again.
It's very active, very hands-on.
So hands-on and personal.
Yeah, that's really...
And I thought to myself, he needs to be drowned 16 times, revived, drowned 16 times. And that would solve nothing. And he asked for and received from, at that time, Governor Bill Clinton, a really speedy death.
Oh, right.
He's like, there's nothing I can say to apologize, and I just want this to be over. And he got it. And that's pretty rare.
Yeah, true.
Within 3 years, he got it.
Yeah, that's very fast.
Other inmates suing him and going to the Supreme Court, all the way to the Supreme Court, saying he's harshing my buzz.
Yeah.
I don't want to be put to death, and he's pushing for a fast, and he got it.
Right.
And so there's some grace in that when you accept responsibility. It's hard to say grace because you shouldn't have done it to begin with.
Exactly.
And if you know enough to know that you did it, you're not insane.
Right.
So yeah, to do it, but then to say, you know what, there's no excuse. And he also, fathered a child with his daughter. So,
which is like, I don't say common, but it happens so often that you're just like, really, how did you, I hate to say, I don't want to malign animals. Animals don't do that. You know what I mean? You're not going to see a dog going to do it with their...
Oh, I don't know. You don't see some of the videos I do.
Oh, well, I got to get out more. I didn't realize animals did that. I guess I'm just thinking, like, animals they don't kill for sport. Do they?
They might.
I don't know.
I don't know, Mark, do they?
I think they do.
Okay, then
And that's all I'm going to say.
Every single thing she says is wrong. Let's just erase this entire
Nice talking to you. Goodbye.
interview.
I think I've seen when dogs are in heat. I think any male dog, regardless of its family relationship, would.
I guess.
Yeah.
Wow, thanks for that perspective.
Gross.
Wow.
Well, after your dog bit my face, then I guess.
Yeah, it all started because Belladonna wanted to eat a little Canadian girl, and now she's not going to ever forgive.
Part of my welcome to California.
Yeah.
And
well, as your husband said, if you hadn't tried to put a finger in her butthole.
Okay, all I tried to do was say hi.
Yeah.
That's how we do it in Canada.
You said hi with your fangs, and then you bit her first, and then she bit you back.
Yeah,
So
you put dog food on my face and said, "Here, come say hi to little Canadian."
Oh my God.
Everybody knows.
I never put
Everybody
dog food
knows.
on your face. It didn't happen.
Mark filmed it and put it up on his special channel.
And this is the future. I want everyone to know this is our future. Who's going to criminology school, who will falsely accuse people
This is true.
of sicking their dogs on her because she's insane in the membrane.
I know what I saw.
Right. Insane in the Membrane, also a
Love
hip
that
hop
song.
song. Yeah. So, do you think you'll ever bring your beautiful brain to the United States, or do you think you're going to keep your
Oh, well,
criminology degree?
I don't know. It's going to depend. I mean, now that I've met so many people down here, it's so great. I have access to so many states.
You do.
I would love to come down here more often on a more regular basis. So we'll see when John, retires. Hurry up, honey.
Do you
we'll
think
see.
you might be like maybe a criminology consultant for the United States?
I like it because I also speak Spanish.
You speak everything. You speak every
do.
goddamn language. You speak like dead languages.
It's true.
Farsi and
Yes.
Sanskrit and
It's true.
Hebrew and Mandarin
Yep.
and
The only one I don't do is Klingon, but
Klingon. I do that, so we'd be a great team.
yeah.
And Dothraki.
Oh, yeah. I think that's
I don't know what that means.
Game of Thrones, which...
Okay, thank
sorry,
you.
nerds. I'm not into that.
I'm not
a
either, so
different
that's
kind
why I
of
don't know
nerd.
what it means. I
I'm a
just
word
heard
nerd.
it. Yeah. Yeah. That
So,
would be awesome if you
yeah.
were
I love the States. Like I said, I've always just grown up like this is the best. I love it. And I've lived, like I told you before, I've lived in a previous lifetime. I lived in St. Louis and Miami. And
You do know a lot about this country.
just because also like we're the hat to the U.S. So it's
What kind of hat do you think you are? Do you think you're like a bowler?
well, no, we're a toque, which is the...
I know what a toque is.
Yeah, okay.
But I think you're so much classier than a
A
toque.
fedora. Or one
Yeah,
of those
fedora.
big swooping Sunday church.
Yeah, I was going to say,
with an-
what are those called? Fascinators?
Oh, yes.
You're a fascinator.
No, but the fascinators tend to be tiny, don't they? Well, I guess they can be any kind of... I'm
Well, it could be a big fascinator.
I would like to be a big fascinator, and I think with some plumage,
I think you're very plumy.
ostrich plumage.
Yes. Yes, I'm picturing it now.
And I think I would like to strut like a peacock.
Yeah.
So
I think a criminologist peacock
works for me.
walking across the United States, bringing her beautiful brain and theories to the commoners.
But the Americans might not want me because I talk to everybody, and they're like, "Please stop talking. Stop being my friend. I don't want to be your friend." But I'm like-
Americans have never said that to you ever.
and I'm like, "But I want to be your friend. I love you so much."
America would never say. America would welcome you with weird open arms.
It's true. Actually, everybody that I've met is so good
Yeah.
and has been so good to me.
Yeah.
It's very, very lovely.
They would never ask you to go back home.
No, that's true.
They would want you to make this your home.
I could see that. I would accept.
I gotta say, I feel like the future is a much more bright, beautiful thing because you're in it.
Oh, thank you, Melissa.
I'm
I
so
love you.
grateful. I love you too. I'm so grateful you were here, and I feel like I've learned so much, and I can't wait to learn more. And the next time you're back, you're going to be a guest too,
Thank
and
you.
more cowbell.
And remember that phone number is 832-TIPSTER, 832-847-7837, or send an email to jttipsters@gmail.com.